What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king, here with a brand new Let's Play. Or should I say brand new, but maybe I should call this a remake of a Let's Play? A remake from the ground up, as it were? Yeah, I think that's more fitting. Yes, I am looking at this game for the third time. I understand that. But with this remake of Shadow of the Colossus, I felt like it was a perfect excuse, or I actually should just say a perfect opportunity. I don't need a darn excuse to Let's Play this game all over again. Because, yeah, there's a remake that just kind of came out, and I need to look at it because, well, spoilers, I've already beaten this, and we're going to be beating it again. So yeah, this little studio known as Bluepoint Games, who is very well known for doing lots of remasters, including the PlayStation 3 remaster of Shadow of the Colossus. Ironically enough, a remaster I don't think did all that well, or did all that much justice to the PS2 version. They have now made this remake, quote-unquote, from the ground up of Shadow of the Colossus, thus bringing it into the modern era from its original 2005 release year. Now, I say quote-unquote from the ground up because, no, this game is not completely rebuilt from the ground up. Anyone who's telling you that doesn't really have the full story here, and we'll get into more of that as we go. But all I can tell you is that they did an excellent job, and I would not be Let's Playing this if they hadn't, because Shadow of the Colossus, as I have said many times, is a game that is very near and dear to my heart, as it is to many other people, countless other people. Whenever there is a discussion for whether or not games can be considered art, which, honestly, if you don't think they can, you're an idiot, because if a kid's crayon drawing on the fridge can be considered art, so can this. And not going to jump into that discussion, but usually when that topic comes up, Shadow of the Colossus is one of, if not the very first game that is brought up for that argument, and there are many reasons why. But Shadow of the Colossus is also special to me for many other reasons. So we're going to be diving on into this game again, and there is going to be a little bit to this Let's Play. I want to try to make this a very cohesive Shadow of the Colossus experience. I want to make this the kind of the complete and definitive experience, much like Bluepoint Games has done to the game itself. And we'll be going over all of those things in this video. So I'm not going to be doing all that much talking in the opening cutscene, but as we get on into the menu here in a second, I will have some things to say before we jump on into the game. And I don't want to do too much talking, especially over the dialogue, what little dialogue there is in this game. So I will let you guys enjoy that, but don't worry, we are going to actually get into some gameplay in this video, I promise. But please take note of how beautiful this game looks, because, my goodness, I'm not even playing this on a PlayStation 4 Pro, I should add. I am playing this on a standard PS4, and on the PlayStation 4 Pro, this game runs at either 1440p at 30 frames a second, a very stable 30 frames per second, or 1080p and 60 frames per second. What you're seeing now is 1080p and 30 frames per second. And there we are, Shadow of the Colossus. I'm going to quickly press something before it jumps on into a little, or actually it's just going to restart that whole cutscene all over. So, as you can see, I've already beaten the game. 2 hours and 58 minutes, honestly, I messed around a lot too, but I am going to be starting a new game. But I could continue, but I want to go into the settings real quick before we jump on in any further. And some of these things I'll be able to show off in game, but I'm going to turn off photo mode just because I don't want it accidentally getting in the way of my playthrough. I have turned off tutorials and dormant hints because that is what I'm here for, not the game. Enable HDR I cannot do because I do not have the capability of doing so, nor does my TV support that. Motion blur, this is something you can turn all the way down. However, considering this is running at 30 frames per second, I am actually going to be turning that all the way up. If I had a Pro, I would be turning that off. We'll get into the filters later, but as you can see, they do change things, and you can also change the intensity. You can change this a little bit better once you're in game. You'll be able to see what exactly they amount to a little bit more. But I am going to be keeping my filter off for now. You can also turn on film grain if you like. Here's the audio options. You have all of these: midnight mode, limit volume during loud moments, your speaker setup, all those kinds of things. Camera. The camera functions exactly the same as it does in the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 versions. So if you don't like the oversensitivity or the unresponsiveness of that, you can change it in here. And then there's the controls, and I want to talk about this. So there's 4 control settings, and the default is set to modern, which you can see right here. Notice how jump is now mapped to X rather than triangle, and control horse is now mapped to triangle, as well as roll being mapped to circle. Now, in the original, that was mapped to R1 and triangle at the same time, or rather, grab and jump at the same time. So this is just to basically give us a more intuitive control scheme. And you can have modern remapped, which is actually the same as classic. The only difference is the roll mechanic has changed, because classic, as you can see, doesn't actually show how to roll. But again, it's R1 and triangle. Modern remapped actually puts roll on circle for you. So if that's like the only thing you really have a problem with, but you like the old controls, modern remapped is the way to go. And then they also have classic remapped, which basically just switches your triggers and bumpers as well as your jump and control aggro buttons. But I'm going to be going with classic because it's what I'm most used to after 100 plus playthroughs of this game. And then you can also change your language for both text and subtitles. And then, yeah, that's really all there is to it. And there's also an image gallery you can look at. So we're going to go to a new game. Normal mode is exactly the same as it was in the original. Hard mode can be selected right from the beginning. We will get into hard mode at a later time, but hard mode was something you had to unlock in the PS2 and PS3 versions, and they have added an easy mode. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to judge anybody, but normal mode is so functionally easy, especially in this remake, that I don't think there's any reason to pick easy mode. And I'm not saying because the game is hard, but because the remake actually made things easier, and I will be explaining why later. So I would suggest picking normal mode unless you're really not feeling confident. Otherwise, easy mode is totally fine. But again, I'm going to give you guys a bit of a sales pitch as to why normal mode is actually a lot easier than it was in the originals, in case you were struggling with those games. Anyways, enough chat, enough talk. I have definitely put an annotation over this to skip all of that, or I guess a card, I suppose. Let's just jump right on in.
was yuhik. Aurel yek for all. Ikudu ibikuka. Yulbzolu iondu. Yulilo cock. I usi yula koldoloya. Olik, olazulam, cause. Ilzozeriku atzoko. Amnos kludu. Laomism wop. Was you a diulas also? View houses is view. Ikolaru kizado you lola. Islis pozaiuku. Aumizukikyo. You are la kika.
You Colossus, you Bluepoint. I love you, own you.
Dormi, ifo, alu yula. Oshtu hailwa wukiu aikwa. Ujisu yazu tsudoko. Was Nordekyo wutiu yula.
I will answer. Auli, you item. Dormi, cute.
Izukyumku, idus orodo yu iweriko. It's not ours, amuswa. Alu diklik, if the leads to Izo.
我从此一直往游览，流浪可我一直爱你的口，因为可是有，爱的你那苦，有爱的，no，有的。 Oh, you
Uronora.
Grayson could come around you. You are a good
Oyu. I'll bet.
I was difficult. No certain kiss, no cuddle. On those. I worry could Error was not this. It was a do. It was do. No.
You do. You bet, Sanada.
Recall. I won't do. Was not this. Oh, you are there, cry of star. Was you Zambia, Oregon, Zula, Mukira Jura. Gnosis, Hiroya Urans, Kadu, Mukodo.
Olam.
You are the was Noswido, Hiroya. Warrior Orange.
Ola. You do new.
No Kurodo. It will arrow. I would journey. Arrows. You will become. Then be car officer.
And here we go. Shadow of the Colossus, everybody. Oh my goodness. Where do I even begin with this? Well, first of all, by letting the game give me control. So, oh my gosh, what do I even talk about? What do I even talk about here? Okay, so first things first. Let's get on out here so I can just explain to you the basics of Shadow of the Colossus before I get into anything else. So, how does Shadow of the Colossus work? Well, let's stop for a second, aggro. Shadow of the Colossus is this guy, Wander, and his horse, aggro. And it's them against this entire world. And no, I'm not kidding. It's this entire world. Now, most of it's covered in clouds because we haven't been to those locations yet. But, pretty darn big map. It's not like GTA or Skyrim sized, but it's still a pretty big map. Definitely was the biggest for its time. Now, your arsenal, aside from aggro, also consists of a sword as well as a bow. And this bow, you have infinite arrows, and that's really all there is to it. There's really not a whole lot going on with each of those. You can grab onto things, which, if you're not actually grabbing something, Wander will just crouch. You can roll around to get out of the way of things. You can jump. You can jump onto your horse, if I can actually make my jumps, which apparently I can't. You can get him to go into full gallop, or you can actually just slow him down into just a walk or a canter. And that's really all there is to it. Very simple. Now, controlling aggro is definitely one of the greatest challenges of Shadow of the Colossus, and definitely the part that people complain about the most. And if I do have one criticism with the remake, I do have to say that it is with the way that aggro is handled. Now, there was a lot of criticism for aggro in the PS2 and PS3 versions as well, and I disagreed with those, mostly because there were ways to circumvent it with aggro, and you could pretty much get him to sprint anywhere. The only time he'd ever slow down is if he was walking over rocky terrain. In this remake, not so much. If he ever has to go over rocky terrain or go in really claustrophobic spaces, you can't get him to stay in a gallop. He will slow down to at least a canter, which can be a little bit frustrating at times, and that's my only criticism of the remake so far. But aside from that, he controls about the same. Wander actually controls more tightly in this version than he did in the PS2 and PS3 version. In the originals, he kind of flailed about a little bit. He wasn't able to turn so quickly like he is in this one. I can definitely move in tighter circles and basically control him like any other third-person character in this game. More so than I could in the original version. Now, there are 2 meters to your HUD, which are your strength meter and your health bar, which my health bar is not visible because I have not taken damage, but this piece of fruit I just shot down will increase that health bar by a very small margin. Every single piece of fruit you gather will increase that. Now, to get to increase your strength meter, you need another source of sustenance, I suppose. Or actually, I can't tell you if Wander eats them or if he like does something else with them. Don't take that out of context. But he has to grab glowing lizard tails, and I'm going to show you where we can get one right now. And I actually don't want to go that way because that would be straying too far. We're going to actually head back in the temple just for a second because there is a lizard in here that we can get, and I can show you how this works. So let's head on back up the stairs. Let me jump off my horse. And if you look up to where Dorman is at, straight on up, he should be up there. There he is, hiding. They're a little bit dimmer in this version. I think I got him. I think I got his tail, too. Did I get his tail? Yes, I did get his tail. All right, sweet. So I didn't even kill him. Be free, my little buddy. I won't kill you, I promise. If you can get his glowing tail, then that should increase your grip meter by a small margin as well. Now, the grip meter is a little bit more intuitive in this game than it was in the originals. In the originals, it just made the circle grow bigger. In this one, there's like a little like offshoot. If I can pull out my bow and show it. See how there's like a little sliver on the outside of the circle that's slowly starting to go down? That's what will increase so that the circle doesn't take up a bunch of space on your screen like it would in the original game. Now, fruit can always be found on any large growing tree, and then lizards in general with glowing tails can be found on these save shrines that we will be encountering throughout the game. So, with that said, why don't we head on over to the first Colossus, which, as Dorman said, if we raise our sword by the light, it will show us where this Colossus is, and he is just right up here. Alright, Aggro, I gotta leave you behind, buddy, because we got some climbing to do. So, climbing is pretty darn simple in this game. Just make sure you're always holding down whatever the grip button is. Don't fall off like that, like I just did, because that makes you look stupid. The longer you hold the jump button, the more airtime Wander will actually have. He won't drop as quickly if you, you tap it like this. As you can see, this is with a full hold, and this is with a tap. See how if you can tell the difference, but both are actually useful. You also want to know how to roll, which is how you get under surfaces like that. It is also useful for dodging the attacks of your foes, of which there are only 16 in this game. How does Shadow of the Colossus work? As far as newcomers go, well, Shadow of the Colossus just puts you up against 16 boss fights. There's really not a whole lot more to it, but every boss fight functions very differently. Your first boss is this guy. Now you might recognize this guy. I don't know, you've probably seen him in regards to Shadow of the Colossus many times because he was on the cover of the box for the first 2 games. And he's kind of the face of the entire series. Turn around. What's up? How's it going, Valus? This, the first Colossus, is Valus the Minotaur. And he is going to be the first test of your wit and your strength. Pretty simple. First of all, don't stand at this range. Here's why. That is his only way of hurting you, and it actually hurts pretty bad. So, don't take Valus lightly. However, if you hold circle, it can actually show you where one of his weak spots are, which, as you can see, it is on the back of his leg, not on the front of his leg. So, I'm just going to walk around you for a second, buddy. Don't mind me. And I'm going to jump right here where there is fur. See how there is a red aura coming out of his leg? What you're going to want to do is go up to where the crack is and stab it. Do it one more time. And he should fall over. There we go. Alright, so now we're going to want to climb up while he is in this position. Get up onto his butt. Yes, I know, it might smell up here, but trust me, this is where you want to be. And shimmy up onto your first point of rest. So from here, we can actually replenish our strength meter. As long as he doesn't knock you over, the meter will not regenerate if Wander is tripping or falling. And then we're going to want to continue to make our climb up his back. This guy really needs to shave. Although I don't know if we're going to be able to give him that opportunity. So in the hard mode, he actually has 2 weak spots. But here in normal mode, he only has 1, and it is up on his head. If you see a full glowing sigil like this, it is ripe for the stabbing. And he will try to toss you around, but every time you stab him, it will interrupt the animation, and you can just stab again. The other weak spot is on his right arm in hard mode, but other than that, that is all there is to Valis. And we're going to want to let go and run for our lives. Run as fast as you can. Wander, do the Zelda roll, something. Get out of here. Oh, no. They got me. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for this first episode of Let's Play Shadow of the Colossus. I hope you all enjoyed it very, very much. And I will see you all in the next one.